Hi, everyone. Welcome to Listen India. I am Dr. Jennie. I am a pediatric audiologist and the founder of Listen India. I have today with me Dr. Lindsay Cockburn. She is also a pediatric audiologist. Welcome, Lindsay. And
Thank you so much for having me.
so tell us, Lindsay, tell us a little bit about yourself. What inspired you to become an audiologist, and what has been your work experience so far?
Yeah, so I knew at a young age that I really wanted to work with children. I think it started with my own pediatrician, actually. He always just really listened to what I had to say, and I thought that was really special. I always thought medicine was so interesting. So for a while, I thought I was going to be a pediatrician. Once I got to college, that wasn't working as well, so I switched majors. I was doing communication sciences and disorders, and I spent some time in the audiology clinic observing, and I got to see the audiologist turn on someone's cochlear implant. So they heard for the first time, and that was before YouTube. So that's not something I had seen before or that was that common. So I thought that was so amazing. You get to help people really fast. You get to change their life like that. You get to make such a huge impact on people. And that I really connected with, and I thought was a good fit for my skills and my strengths. So I got my doctorate of audiology, and then after I graduated, I worked at John Tracy Center in Los Angeles. So there I was a pediatric audiologist for 8 years, and I tested thousands of newborns hearing. So I tested little babies hearing all the way up to kids who are 18 years old, and I diagnosed the hearing loss, and then we had lots of services for those families with kids with hearing loss. And I also have worked with families all over the world because they would do our online program, and we had a summer international session where people from all over the world would come with their kids and that had hearing loss, and we would help them. So I've worked with lots of different families all over the world, and it's really special to me to work with parents, especially moms, and to just encourage and empower them, because they can make such a huge difference in their kids' lives, and it's important to remind them just how important they are.
Absolutely. So, in your experience, what are some risk factors of not providing newborn hearing screenings to every baby who is born? And what are some challenges that they may face growing up?
Mhm. I think that people would find it surprising that when I was diagnosing babies with hearing loss, most of the parents were very shocked. So I think people expect that if your baby has hearing loss, you would know. But since it's invisible, and most babies with hearing loss are born to normal hearing parents, and there's no family history for a lot of them, for the vast majority, it was a huge shock, a huge surprise that their child had hearing loss. And that really is why universal newborn hearing screening is so important, because most people don't realize that there is a chance for their baby to have hearing loss, even with no risk factors. That seeing hearing loss in an infant just from observing them is very difficult. It's very difficult to tell. Um, and we know from all the research how important early hearing detection and intervention is. The earlier we start, the more we can do to help these kids. So with that program, which the abbreviation is EHDI, EHDI, they have the goals of 1, 3, 6. So screening the hearing in babies by 1 month old, diagnosing them with hearing loss by 3 months old, and beginning early intervention services by 6 months old. And in order to do that, you have to be screening everyone, since so many parents are not expecting it for their children. So that's why it's so important to be testing everyone. And you have to be able to hear all the different sounds clearly in order to speak clearly. So babies who are not hearing some of the sounds, even in just one ear, that can affect their speech and language development, which can affect their academic development. It can make it harder for them in school. And then it can affect their social and emotional development. They can have a harder time connecting with other people, having conversations, understanding what others are saying. They can have a harder time figuring out what the social norms are, what they're supposed to be doing, because they can't hear the instructions and they can't overhear things from the people around them. So when a diagnosis is missed or it's late because the baby wasn't screened, the kids tend to have a significant speech and language delay. And while you can help them later and give them hearing aids or speech therapy and give them that rehabilitation, it's always better to prevent them from having that delay, which we can do with early detection and intervention, versus trying to fix something once there is a speech and language delay, fix that problem that's already occurred. It's always better. Prevention is always better than rehabilitation. And the first 3 to 5 years for a baby's development are so important. They're making over 1 million new neural connections every second. It's all about brain development. The ears are the doorway to the brain. We need those sounds to get into the brain to stimulate those different parts that are important for listening, which helps you with speech and language development, which helps you with reading and writing, which helps you with communicating with other people. Hearing loss can have so many different effects on children. So the most important thing we can do is the early hearing detection and intervention by doing universal newborn hearing screenings.
Absolutely. What is the one piece of advice you have for pregnant women or parents of newborn babies in India?
So I know from working with families all over the world that all parents want what's best for their baby. They want their baby to live a happy, successful life where they have all the options and all the possibilities in the world. And that's what I want for their babies too. You really have nothing to lose by getting your baby screened, by getting your baby a newborn hearing screening. There's no downside to the screening. They're either going to have hearing loss or they're not. Whether you screen them or not, that's not going to change the fact that they either have hearing loss or they don't. So there's no downside to screening. It's not invasive. It doesn't take a long time. I don't know the cost exactly in India, but it's not very expensive here. And I'm sure there's problems with access, but there's just no downside to doing it if you're able to. And I think that a lot of parents with kids with hearing loss say there's a lot of benefits to being a parent with a child with hearing loss, that they have this really deep and special relationship with that child that they never imagined was possible. There's a whole community of families that have kids with hearing loss that's really tight-knit online, in person. You get to meet all these new friends. Your child can have, all these opportunities to meet other people like them. And it just gives you that unique bond and adds extra meaning, parents say, to their lives to have this special bond. So yes, it does have its challenges. It's a lot of work for the parent. It's going to be work whether you diagnose it early or late. Earlier is going to be easier. And then there's also really benefits to having a kid with hearing loss. You have this different perspective that you would never have if you didn't have that. So I think people are surprised to hear that parents do say that they love that they have a kid with hearing loss because it exposed them to a whole new world that they never knew about. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it gives the children also the the advantage of being able to grow up as more confident and more self-reliant kids, instead of growing up with a disability and finding that out so later in life that you can't do much about it, versus tackling it head on, at the right time, providing the right intervention services available, and taking it from there. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for coming today. I really appreciate all the advice. This was great. And I hope we can do this again. And for all the viewers, if you
thank
like this,
you.
if you like this, video, please give it a like. And thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thanks. Yeah, and I share information online too. I have a website, Listen with Lindsay, where I have a post about all the instructions about getting ready for a test with your baby, about what to do beforehand. So if you want more information on that, I have it. And then I also have Instagram and Facebook, and it's all Listen with Lindsay.